Until a few years ago, I get this thing out the way. Until a few years ago, I never studied once. Now, even though I did study, it wasn't proper and efficient, and this definitely had an impact on my grades. So let me tell you how I learned how to actually study. Before you can do any exercise, you need to know how it works. This idea applies the same way to studying. So I won't be surprised if some of you don't know some of the stuff I'm about to talk about, because in the modern education system, it's clearly lacking. To start off, you need to know the Pareto principle. The Pareto principle is essentially the 80-20 rule. And now, this means that 20% of your activities result in 80% of your results. This means that the majority of your work ends up bringing the minority of your results. And it is for this reason that I consider my previous study methods to be so inefficient that I can pretty much say I never studied at all. At the time, most of my knowledge came from actually listening in class. And even though I went home and I spent hours into work, I essentially never studied because I was doing such inefficient methods that gave so little results, you can almost count it as zero. So, how did I actually go from never studying to getting really good results and rapidly improving? How did I actually start benefiting from work at home and not only learning from school? You need to first start off a routine so you can get work done with minimum time wasted, because we all know life isn't only about studying. If you get home at a certain time every day, make sure that by a similar time you are sitting down and ready to work. It's important to note that discipline and routine triumph over motivation. It is extremely difficult to start any sort of rudimentary basic routine without a proper workspace. I highly recommend having a specific desk for work. Do not work on your bed or your couch unless 100% unavoidable. Working on your bed is generally inefficient and your body subconsciously cannot work as well on your bed as you create the mind connection on your bed for sleeping and relaxing. So with starting work at a specific time and creating a specific workspace, you can realize that separating work and fun will drastically increase your productivity and quantity and quality of work done, while leaving more time for other things such as fun, self-development, and exercise. There's a time for work and there's a time for play. When you're working, set a timer to work hard and efficiently. My current method for efficient work is to focus more on understanding and applying the knowledge learned than parrot learning. Greater interest and understanding of the topic you are learning will lead to longer memorizing of it and also higher grades, because when you're interested in something, your brain focuses more to learn it compared to where you're just parrot learning this does this, A leads to B. When you're more interested in the topic, you're also going to have more fun. It's going to be easier to study it for longer. This is as parrot style learning is all short term, while understanding is more concrete and long term, which results in more facts coming in, because as you're learning, you just pick up the small things and it kind of builds a foundation. Imagine learning like building a bridge. When you build solid foundations with solid stone and steel, this can support much more than a bridge that is made out of weaker materials such as wood. In this metaphor of a bridge, time is the eroding element such as wind, water, and rain. Rocks can resist a lot more than wood. Wood can rot and grow soft, while rock cannot. We only have so much time in our everyday life to build our bridges, and the resources we use to build this bridge is essentially our ability to focus. Just like with stamina, you have to learn to build up your ability to focus and learn. There are 3 main shortcuts to increasing studying power and/or the ability to learn. The first shortcut is to focus on deep work. Remember the 80-20 rule? Try to focus on the work that matters the most and ignore the work that doesn't matter much. We don't have time for the work that doesn't matter much, especially when such a small minority of work leads to most of our results. A lot of what we do in our work yields no results, it brings nothing. So focus on what leads to more results. The second method is to increase on how you can deeply focus. And guess what? I've already told you some of these principles. Creating a study environment with a set routine plays a huge role in deep work as it focuses your mind. To add to an effective workplace, try to remove distractions from your studying environment. And one way to do this is to clear up the clutter. You don't want a lot of mess around you. You want your mind to be kind of focused on your work. So if you have a different monitor, keep it there with your notes. Don't have a bunch of things in front of you. You don't really want posters or things that are moving around in front of you that are distracting you. And a big distractor is actually your phone. So definitely, if you're using Apple, put your phone on Do Not Disturb or something of that sort. And the reason for this is if you're studying and you kind of get into that mojo, the groove, and then you get like a text or your phone lights up, it really puts you out of it. And this can happen like every 5 minutes. And let's say you're doing 90-minute deep work sessions on a clean, cluttered, desk-free, in an area, definitely not in your bed. And now your phone goes off every 5 minutes. You're kind of wasting your time. You need to bring in more of a self-respect than that. So put your phone on Do Not Disturb, turn it around, get it out of your workplace even, like chuck it on your bed or something. And clean the clutter of your workspace. Right now, the only thing I really have in my workspace besides my monitor is the coffee cups that I've been drinking. So you don't want a lot of things distracting you. Before I tell you the last step, you need to understand that our body affects our mind, and so do our thoughts. Earl Nightingale once said, "You become what you think about all day long." You need to start thinking of yourself as a student who can do it, because a negative attitude will only hold you back. Do not sleep on the importance of exercise and diet. When our body is healthy, so is our mind. Why do you think exercise, especially group exercise, is so often used as a treatment or aid towards curing depression? To put it simply, if you want to do well academically, you need to improve your mental health. If you guys really want, I can even do a video on how to improve mental health all at home, a bunch of that sort of stuff to improve your mental health at home. It's actually quite easier than you think. Even without a full video on mental health, I can tell you there's a direct correlation between good grades and a good mental health, as well as constant exercise. When your body is healthy and challenged in the right way, it only helps to boost your mind and your body and all other sorts of things. It's like the benefits, they expand exponentially. You get increased academics because of mental health. You're happier, you're feeling stronger, more motivated, you build more discipline. Mental health affects everything. It's like the jack of all trades. When you feel like trash, it's so difficult for us to properly learn and stick to our habits, and also to effectively study. And remember, the point of this video is not just to study for hours and hours and hours, because we can all study hard, right? But can we all study smart? So the point is effective studying, so because you can sit with your books all day and essentially learn nothing. And now, constant exercise, as I said before, this can be anything from going on a walk or gymming often, which is what I do, going on runs, cycling. All of these positively affect mental health and therefore positively affect your grades, which increases your academics. You need to start a timetable of what to study and when. Plan out your major tests and all other things coming up. You want to put them on, for example, a PowerPoint. You want to spread out when you have this exam. Then before each exam, for example, you can do revision sessions. And you know, for example, if I have my math exam in 2 weeks, you're going to work backwards because you can't study for your exam after your exam is taking place. Now, working backwards is so efficient when you're busy planning out your timetable, because so when the test comes, you know you're fully prepared. You've gone through every single thing. And yes, I'm also a student, and I do know how often we go, I'm going to study for this test, but we end up studying the night before, which is not what you want, because you often forget a bunch of things. To counter the unexpected events happening in your life, you need to learn how to learn more efficiently in the classroom. Because honestly, if you ask yourself, how many lessons have you walked out of and gone, I learned absolutely nothing? You sat there, you daydreamed, you looked out the window, you went on your phone, you played Clash of Clans or something like that. How many lessons have you actually learned? Nothing. If you think about it, we hate going to school. I mean, unless you're like an outlier, nobody truly really likes school. Yes, we like the social aspect of it, but no one really likes to sit there and listen to our teachers. Boom, A squared plus B squared equals to C squared. No one enjoys that shit. So the point is, you're there anyway, bro. You're there anyway. In the classroom, instead of just listening and learning, you have to focus on understanding. Don't go, what is the mitochondria? Ask why. What does it do? How does it do this? And what effects does it bring on? Because when you create the story, this narrative in your head, it's really raining pretty hard right now. When you create this story, this narrative in your head, you actually remember it because it becomes long-term knowledge. If you think about it, when you're a child, you're constantly learning. None of that stuff is short-term knowledge. It's all long-term knowledge. It's because you are learning for understanding. And as you continue to learn for understanding, you pick up short-term stuff. Because with long-term stuff, it takes a while to pick up, but it stays. And short-term stuff can be picked up quick, but it goes away quick. So for a test, when you learn long-term understanding, you end up learning more for longer. And then you don't even have to cram as much because you're learning the crammy stuff as you're going. Think of the implications of learning for understanding. Do you really think most of our scientific achievements would have been achieved without learning, understanding, and asking why? If Isaac Newton watched the apple fall and he was just like, oh, the apple fell. What happened? It fell. Why did it happen? You start thinking, the gears in your head starts going. You start to understand more. You start to drive. Your curiosity starts to work. You start to learn more for longer, and you start to achieve more. If Isaac Newton just watched the apple fall, then today we would not know about Isaac Newton's law of universal gravitation. He asked why, and you, my friend, are no different. Make sure to ask why, especially in the classroom, because 20% leads to 80% of our results. So we need to learn for understanding and ask why. You aren't wasting our time in the classroom, so we can actually get home and work on the other things that are important towards us. Final step to effective studying is to create a proper sleep routine. Put your phone away 30 minutes before bed. Start turning off get rid of blue light in your area. Read a book 30 minutes before bed. If you really start implementing this, not only will you get better sleep, but then you can also learn more. For example, I'm busy reading How to Win Friends and Influence People. I'm about halfway getting through it. I've been away for a week, so I haven't been on it, but I'm getting back into it. If you're reading now 30 minutes before bed every day, not only are you constantly learning, you're in that learning mindset. And also, you don't want to necessarily be reading school books because that's not enjoyable. You want to learn for understanding. Like How to Influence People. This book is fully understanding. In the beginning, it tells you that you can read this book as many times as you want. But unless you have a highlighter and you question things, you underline things, you try them in your life, you're not going to truly learn. The only way to get value out of this book is to learn through understanding and effort and failure. And that's very similar to how I want you guys to do in the classroom, in your daily life, when you study at home. When you learn to understanding, you get a lot better. And sleep only boosts this even further. If you think of it like a video game, you imagine you start off all at level 1, start every single stat. And now you slowly gain experience. When you learn through understanding, you have a multiplier effect because you aren't being forced to, you're enjoying the learning. Put your phone on silent while sleeping. That's also important. It's a simple one, but it's also important because if you're getting pings and flashes of light at the night, it's disturbing you. Your mind, a lot goes through it when you're trying to sleep. And I'm not a sleep expert, but it's very important to do that. In fact, an easier way to do this is just not keep your phone in your room. I know not everyone can do this because of alarms having to wake you up in the morning, but it's best to not keep your phone in your room. So for example, let's say I go to bed at 9:30, wake up at 5 a.m. Then I put my phone away at 9 and I get into bed with a book. I read the book, I have some fun. If you really don't only like to read sort of productive books, you can read 15 minutes, How to Win Friends and Influence People, 15 minutes, another book, a Stephen King or something of that sort, so that you can kind of enjoy yourself. Also, reading every day has a bunch of benefits for your brain. Not as much as sleeping, because sleeping is essential. It's all based on sleeping. If you think about building a bridge, which I talked about earlier, without proper sleep, there's nothing to build on. You can't build a bridge in the air without something to build it onto. You need a destination, you need point A, you need point B. Sleeping is kind of the destination as well, helps with the destination. Get into bed at the same time every day so your mind can create this rhythm. It's the same thing with studying every day. You create these small habits. Like for example, as I said before, going to bed at 9, you get into bed at 9 every day. So now at 9 o'clock, your brain knows it's time to sleep. So it starts to cool down, it starts to calm down, it like does its thing, right? So then you get better sleep because you are creating a habit. Your body knows when it's time to sleep. If you go to sleep at any time you feel like it, whenever you feel like it, today I'm not feeling very tired, so now I'm not going to really go into bed now, wait until 11, I watch a movie. And then by the time I get into sleep, I'm starting to mess up my schedule. Maybe the next day, I need to get to sleep at now 9 o'clock, but I only start feeling tired at 10:30. It's bad, you're getting less sleep. Get into bed at the same time every day. Get into bed at the same time every day helps our body know when to rest, which is also why you need to separate your work and your bed. Because if you're in your bed, your body only associates it with sleep. It won't try and associate it a little bit with work or studying or school the next day. When you're in bed, you have a goal, and that goal is to get proper sleep so that you can be more effective tomorrow. How do you expect to learn and achieve when your body is not at its best? There are major things you can change in your life, and if they are there and available to change, change it. And sleep is vital. One of these important things you can and need to change. We need rest to function, so how can you do properly well with 3 hours of bad quality sleep, 5 hours of sleep? All of these bad quality of sleep affects you throughout the day, and this stockpiles up. Before you know it, By the end of the week, you've been so much less effective than you thought you were, and now you have to spend extra time trying to catch up. To recap on everything I've said, focus on the 80-20 principle. Set up an efficient workspace, build studying and sleep habits. Exercise and work on your body to boost your mental health. Change how you learn in class by using understanding and long-term knowledge so that you don't have to spend as much useless time at home studying. I have a lot more useful information on similar topics like these, so in the comments just share what you think and anything I should tackle. In my polls I've started to put out different things, like a bunch of lists for which topic do you think I should discuss, and this is one of them. Remember, half the battle is showing up, do not give up.